Sorry about that. Oh no. Windows updates. Whew. How is everyone? Delta? Tunicus, evening? How's things? So, tonight won't be my longest of streams because I have a Xbox One Series X sat back there still in the box that I haven't had the chance to open yet, and I'm itching to play a game. Yeah, I was actually just had that on. Thing is that Hanselman, he's such an amazing presenter. One right this second. All the others have been, they'll get here when they get here, sort of thing. So we'll see. I assume you still couldn't manage to get one. That was your intention, right? Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, Amazon aren't delivering that. Yeah. So the one I got was from Microsoft. So we'll see how that goes. But okay. So we'll it's ridiculous. Some went live on GameStop today, but they were bundles for like $700 and $900, which I think is a bit ridiculous. No, it's not a bit ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. Open recent. There we go. Yeah. I mean, I kind of was holding out hope for the idea that maybe if I held on to an Xbox, someone would have a PS5 and I could do a trade. But no. No one I know managed to get a PS5. It's annoying because the PS5 is the one console I actually wanted. So the Xbox, I just don't play as many games on. Yeah, I'll wait till next year, get a PS5. It'll be fine. But yeah, we'll see. Sorry, just had to eat something. And didn't want to crunch that down the microphone. So, this evening, we will resume our efforts from the last stream, is the goal. First, we'll talk about how we consume the menu being published. So, if we remember, we're not going to update this to .NET Core, .NET 5 yet. We'll worry about that another time. Maybe we'll focus around putting a few issues in the actual GitHub, and then we can move forward with the project. What am I doing? Oh yeah, Docker. So D. Cool. See, dd dev projects stream pass cd pizza, and then docker compose up dash I think it's dash f docker compose dot infra dot yml dash d up dash d. There you go. So we should have all our services running. So the bot's still running, that's fine. We've got our separate Mongo instances, everything's good there. Okay, we're happy. So we should be able to run this. So menus. Oh, did I not? Okay, right. That's why, because we wanted to create menus. Okay, last time. I get it. So we need Kafka tool running. So the one thing that's clear from this so far is, you know, the amount of management and the amount of steps you have to take, you know, to up 12 minutes. Oh, because that's the other instance. That's Mongo of about a minute. Timeout. That should work. Yeah, so what I was about to say was, you know, the amount of work you have to put in to get the simplest of things up and running, you know, you have to keep a lot of things clear in your head. That doesn't seem right. Menus, okay, we have menus. So that's working. Yeah. So, I mean, but this goes to the question of, you know, how much of an expert can you be when you've got all these things moving, you know? It's pretty hard to do. Okay, we definitely had this working last time. We definitely have this working, so we'll give this a second. I might just have to change something, I don't know. But, and I mean, the amount of technologies that are out there, the amount of technologies that we get to use, you have to make a decision at some point. There's no perfect solution. Why are you not? Server is listening on the specified port, but you won't connect. Because, you know, watching the .NET conference today, you know, there's so much going on. There's so many different technologies. There's so many different ways of doing things. There's the gRPC stuff. There's the remoting. There's Blazor. There's all these different things. And by the time we get to, you know, creating something, you know, it's moving that fast. How do you become, you know, expert enough to even manage all this? And I don't think you can. I think honestly the thing that most people do is they get comfortable enough with owning the pieces, and then they just get better at managing the pieces as they have more experience. Angel Coda, good evening. Thank you very much. 15 months. That's that's truly amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Um, yeah. So anyway, I'm just rambling because obviously I've been paying attention to .NET Conf today. It's going well. But with all the technology we're being thrown at, with all these moving technologies, I don't know how anyone can become a true expert. And full stack development. What is full stack development when we've got all these pieces moving? I would not like to say I'm a full stack developer at this point. Menu website start, apply. I think I set this up to be, sorry. Oh yeah, there's that. Menu website is the project, yes. Running on the right ports, okay. Yeah. Things are moving, things are always changing. How do you become an expert? How do you, how do you keep all these things straight? Okay, why did you just close? Did you close or did you just minimize back? Okay, so we have the website running. We have customers and marketing. There's this website. I don't think that started where... No, that didn't start where I thought it would. Okay, so that's the problem. Let's stop that running. Honestly, we were joking. I dropped the joke a little bit in the Discord before, but basically, it very much felt like a lot of focus on Blazor. A lot of focus on Blazor. I thought I'd saved that before, but okay. Let's see what happens now. 4 windows should open. Why do you not like running that? Stop. It does not like making that run on project. Let's move that up, that up, that. Lightblades are not loving the server side. You having issues with it, or what? No, it resets it. It cannot run multiple websites. Huh. So it starts the menu website, but it starts the menu website using iOS Express. And it's not like we're establishing... No, different ports. Different ports. 5004, 5003. And this is on... hold on. Profile website. 5001, 5000. Right. Oh, so there's behavioral differences with it on Azure. I'm going to mute 1 second while I bite something because it's going to crunch. Me and a cheese thing with um, flaky pastry, and it was very crunchy. Oh wow, huh? Although we've seen that behaviour, right? In we were talking about the Sync Fusion site the other day. The documentation every now and then you'll go back and it'll be timed out, and it'll have to re-establish. So yeah, I don't know why I've still got the Visual Studio stream open. Fritz being Fritz. Okay, so menu website project. Maybe. I would hope not. IS Express. Why won't you save the project? That's really frustrating. Hmm. It's not. It's not like we can't get around that. But part of the benefit of showing this is, that we're going to have all these things moving all at once. I'm not happy with that either. So, Docker compose that down. That might be the problem because I don't think I brought them down properly last time. Yeah, that's the problem. So, local instance, Zookeeper 2181. That should have been my indicator. I bet this will connect now. Yeah, there you go. That's interesting. So I did Docker compose up, and that didn't bring them up properly. They weren't actually connected. Oh, the challenges of technology. Okay. Menu website project. Why won't you? Let's see if you'll start this once. Start your instance. Well, no, it doesn't. That did not actually work because it didn't start on the right port. Oh, you're going to drive me nuts. Launch project, menu website, new. Let's do console deploy, console. See if it'll let me do that. I'll select the project. There, I think the other way around. 5001, 5000, 5000 is localhost, so 5002, 5003. Yeah. Okay. Set a start project. Run. Why is that open like that? And I'm actually not telling it to launch the browser, so what's it doing? Where's it pulling the fact that it's got to start the browser from? That's where it's created from. Oh, Delta went live. Cool. Um, so you can't select that when you run it as a selection. So my assumption was that would be the settings it would pick. Maybe just being stupid. Da, da, da. Let's see what happens now. Do we get 4 windows? Yes, we do. Okay. So we get the 2 services. We get 5001 there. And we don't get 5002 because, yeah, localhost 5003. Yeah, okay. So we got the menu, we got the pizza as a service, we got the 2 services up here, and we should be able to go to menus and create a menu, and this is the all day menu. Let's say all day. We hit save, and then we'll go over here. We should have a message. We have the all day menu with our entries in it. And we go over here, register Bob, the builder. Okay, so things are all running, things are working. We have Mongo, NoSQL. Oh yeah, that's what I was using. Okay. 127.08, 018. We have a customer service and our website. That's Bob and Bob. Different IDs, that's fine. Is verified, okay. So I think the next thing to do is get the menu to be consumed in the actual website, the customer interactions website, because that's the next challenge, right? If we're going to use Kafka, how do we get Kafka in here? Because obviously, mass transit is actually running as a service. It's a hosted service running alongside the website. If we go to that, services, hosted service. That's the Microsoft thing, and then that's mass transit hosted service is this. So we could do something similar. I've not done that before, but we could do that. Is it the right thing to do? Probably not, because basically, if the menu isn't updated, that's not critical. Similar to how mass transit does that. So mass transit just starts a hosted service. I've not used hosted services inside of websites in quite a while because my mentality is always that adds overhead to a website that you don't want to add overhead to. And I'm not sure about the scaling of that then, because if you have a lot of requests coming in, what's the website doing, right? Where do you scale? You don't. If 50 customers can produce enough messages, that means you have to scale your web server. Then you're not scaling for the customers, you're scaling for that service, which you could probably split out. So I'm not a big fan of having services running within the website. So from a design perspective, so we have the menu. The menu is being published. The site needs to show the menu, but should the site be the one consuming the message, or should we have another service inside the customer interactions group that is going to receive that message, pick it up and store it in the database so that we can start displaying the menu entries? And I personally feel that's a better design. Yes, it's yet another service. We're going to end up with a lot of them by the time we've demonstrated this. But I think that's the right design, because again, that can scale independently of the website. If we don't have a lot of messages, we don't need to worry about that, right? But if the website scales and we've got multiple versions, then we've got way more to consider. Mr. Ranhorn, good evening. Thank you very much for 14 months. Truly appreciate that. Thank you. I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks to do something cool with the support I've been given. We'll see. So anyway, what do you think? So the putting the service for the Kafka piece. So we need to consume the menu, right? So then the idea would be that this service, or this side of things, would consume the fact that a menu was published, right? Because that's the menu we want to display for ordering off of, right? Now the beauty of all this is, as we break things out into services, it doesn't hurt us, right? We're not going to irreparably set our path, and it's going to be impossible to return from. And that's kind of the beauty of this sort of architecture, is you don't have to. You can develop the raw pieces without panicking about, oh, what if I need to change this later on, and what if this? Because that always causes issues with software development, right? What if, right? If I put the service to consume the menu inside of the website, what if I have to scale that out? And I'm scaling the website, not the menu, but they're inseparable, right? So every time I scale the website out into its own service, the menu service scales out. Is that a design I want to deal with? Is there any harm in breaking this out into its own service and letting it process those messages from the website and storing them in the same storage so they're related to this group? I don't think there's any harm there. So I think it's a cleaner design right now, and if later on we wanted to change that, we could change that. So it's still customer interactions. Trying to pass all that. Okay. Do you want me to review that again, or do you want me to just proceed? Once more. Okay. So let me kind of review a little bit more. No, I don't want to separate mass transit right now. I think mass transit is in the right place for where it is. Right now, mass transit is in a hosted service as part of the customer website, right? The challenge there is, if the messaging from the customers from the rest of the system gets too heavy, right, we're going to bog our website down, because that service is, I mean, they are running as probably threads with how ASP.NET sorts them out, but it's going to still create a problem for the website, right? So that you can't just pull out the mass transit component and put it somewhere else and scale it independently. So now its scaling is tied to the website, right? Because it's actually in here, right? This piece here adds mass transit as a hosted service inside of the website. So rather than put Kafka in the same thing, right? Rather than consume the Kafka messages for menu, what I'm balancing is, okay, the menu is just data that's published. If it doesn't, so what I'm justifying is, okay, what is the cost of it not consuming that immediately? Is there any downside? Like, if the system goes down while you try and register an account, if the website part goes down but the rest of the system's up, then the website service is never going to receive the account registered, right? That's kind of fundamental to the process. So if you break that out into a separate piece, right now, I think there's there's more downsides than there is upsides to separating out the mass transit component. But with the menu, if the menu doesn't get updated immediately, it's not the end of the world, because we can always reject an order, right? We can always say, no, we don't have that. And we can get around that. We can also scale that independently. We shouldn't have to, the number of times we're going to update menus and things through Kafka, because as we've identified so far, the way that I'm talking about Kafka is very much, this is data, you don't need to know the context, whereas mass transit is, here's the context of this action, right? Here's why this was done. Here's the event that triggered it. Here's a thing that happened to make this need to be updated by you. You care about this. So we're using Kafka for just data transfer, and menu is such a thing as data transfer. If we split Kafka out into its own service here, so the consumer of the menu right this second into its own service, it's cleaner for now. The website could scale independently. If you have to spool up 3 or 4 website instances, you're not spooling 3 or 4 menu instances up, which is just overkill and resource hog. So, but they all live in the same world. So they're all, I mean, if we're thinking about this from a DDD perspective, they all live in this world. So they can talk to the same storage. They can talk to the same objects. They can share libraries. These are okay. Okay. So for right now, we're going to create another service, which is in the customer interactions domain, we'll put it as, and that will be for consuming the menu. The mass transit stuff remains where it is, because so ultimately what we'll do is we'll actually link mass transit to identity here. So when when the consumers is going to get confusing. When an account is registered, we're actually going to create an account in the actual identity system in this context, and allow you to log in, etc. Unless someone wants to do the identity server 4 stuff, in which case you basically then say, no, now mass transit needs to come out because it needs to live somewhere else, because setting up the account is not part of this. But anyway, I digress a lot. Okay, so I've been writing small apps to demonstrate .NET 5 features all day, so this is the most advanced coding I've done all day. So we're going to do a console app. And I mean, I started to get my head more around records and what it meant and how I would use them. I like the idea of using records. I'm kind of scared of the organizational difference it will make, because you're not going to create a file for one line. So I think actually Mr. Anhorn's pattern of having, or was it Mr. Anhorn or someone else who has the handler and the message in the same file. Now those patterns really make sense. right? Whereas previously I'd separate commands from handlers and queries from handlers, etc. I think those make sense now. Um, don't think we actually have any CQRS stuff in here, but is it you? Yeah. So now that pattern makes perfect sense because it's now pretty clean. And playing with records, I can see that. Right. I Yeah. Well, it's not Mr. Anhorn. I just credited you with the thing. Whew. Pizza as a service. Okay, so we do have customer interactions. So we're going to put this in customer interactions folder. And I think for right now, we're actually going to be clear about what this is. I'm not sure I would normally name this by the technology, but I think for right this second, for helping people navigate the code, naming it by its technology is probably a good thing to do. Because especially now we have mass transit and Kafka moving around, and they both have the concept of consumers, it will help people navigate. Um, Although, honestly, thinking more through that statement, I'm actually not sure I wouldn't name that Kafka.consumers. Because I think if you're looking at this code base, that's the business argument there is it's part of the customer interaction service. I now have 38 projects from my one monolith. I split it into very distinct areas. Now I can implement a background processing server. Nice. I can count on one hand the number of times I've worked with more than a dozen projects, I think. I can't bring it up on stream, but I'm pretty sure that even the one I work with, the biggest one I work with in the office is less than 15 projects. But then again, I've very much embraced the many different solutions, whereas people would typically put them all into one project. Hey, D Trouble. I'm not right now. No, I'm using Kafka in production, but I'm not using uh, Mass Transit. Mass Transit is I haven't used it in many years, and we're kind of exploring. Is there a real need for this complex system in case-based apps? Right. Mediator's fine. Yeah, mediator's fine. I use Mediator, or I use a mediator pattern in my day-to-day stuff, and we've never really gone this deep inside of this distributed stuff on stream before. If you were developing a simple website, then no, this would be total overkill, right? Um, but let's structure there is root, API, model, components. Yeah. So what we're trying to demonstrate here, by the way, is that if we went into a deeper domain, we end up benefiting from splitting these things out. But you know, this would have to be a Domino's or a Pizza Hut or a large pizza chain to even warrant this level of system. Only thing that includes root is the web project sub background server. Huh. Structure. I think this might be overkill. I mean, let's think about this. Right now, we're about to create a second service. So I probably should add to this at this point. Again, these are all ideas. These are not definite things. So right this second, these are all concepts within this larger world, right? They're not real things. But what I should probably do is kind of to back. Ooh, you're not gonna go? Oh yeah, there you go. If we do fill, and then we do gradient. No. Opacity. And we do right aligned. What I was trying to do here is say that what we probably need to do at this point is actually indicate that this is customer interactions. So when we talk about customer interactions in the code, this is the area we're talking about, things that live in this box. I know it's clear, or it's mainly clear. Interactions. How do I get that to go up to the top? Increase center style superscript block right align. Oh, the extension name for draw.io. I think it's just draw.io. Yeah, draw.io integration by Henning Dietrichs. It's not official, but it does a pretty good job. So if you remind me when we're doing these things, I'll try and block them out in the right ways so we can kind of get an idea of where things lie. Yeah. Okay. What do you think of that? I can also share the draw.io file if anyone needs it. So, but basically, I want to start getting to the idea. So, if we're doing more DDD stuff, and I wasn't trying to avoid referring to DDD, I suppose we've just kind of identified definitely a subdomain of the system. Actually, at least three, I think, because the terminology, the language within them, the events, we're identifying the communications between these things. Well, I was saying before, by the way, that this stream won't be a very long one. It will be. It won't be going to 11 o'clock my time. For that reason, I did get console. Actually, 1 second. So that is the box. Microsoft don't do a very good job packaging. It came in a box with 2 pieces of cardboard on the end. Nope, not even opened yet. That's how much I enjoy streaming. But I'm going to leave early enough that I can still get an hour of gameplay in. Believe me, I'm itching to play on it. Okay. Pardon me. So we now need a Kafka consumer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to use a similar pattern rather than worrying too much about creating actual services yet. We're not doing that level yet. So we're going to pull the pieces together and get that working. So let's go here and do extensions.configuration. Ultimately, we'll make the change to no. I'm trying to avoid .NET 5 right this second. Not that I actually want to. I just don't want to trigger. And from what I've seen, it's perfectly fine. But I don't want to trigger any problems with that and then end up chasing my tail all night, trying to figure out what's broken. He says as he just watched Scott Hanselman excellently make his way through some issues. Okay. So go in here, take that in first. Let's create an app settings JSON. Yeah, he's pretty impressive. Okay. So we don't need. We're going to do something similar. I'm going to copy it for the sake of referencing it rather than Well, I think that's the key. He trusts his team. He's not afraid of failure. There is no shame in failure. There is only shame in hiding the truth. So yeah, he's Fritz's boss, right? I believe. Yeah. Well, if you're gonna show off what your team's done and you believe in your team, then you know. And considering the team he has, there's no reason to doubt they haven't done great things, right? So we'll see. But yeah, is impressive as always. I've followed Hanselman since 2008. I think I first no, before that probably, because everything I would talk about him all the time. Because if I have a hero in anything, it's probably Scott Hanselman, right? I followed him before he worked at Microsoft, and read his blog at that point. And yeah, he was always very impressive, even back then. His confidence and his presentation style. Yes, he did. I don't listen to the podcast as much. I don't follow as much anymore. I don't find the time to spend listening to a lot of the talks. But he covers a lot more than just programming now, because Yeah. I think I first heard about him on .NET Rocks. That's where I first was introduced to him, I believe. Okay, so we're going to introduce Kafka. So now we need Confluent. So this is the tricky point, right? When you're updating a library and a new framework is just released, you also have to make sure that this doesn't have a dependency on your new framework, that it's still supported. And they haven't updated since October 20th, so we're good there. That could have tripped me up. Because it doesn't say .NET 5 when it doesn't mean it couldn't have .NET 5 in it. Okay, so we're going to need Mongo as well. Because again, we're going to use Mongo. Right now, we're going to use Mongo a lot because Mongo's easier and we don't have to worry too much about shape. Okay, so one way, just for the reference, one way of doing that to make sure that I'm not restoring a package. I get today like 10 emails from GitHub about some package release because done at 5. Yeah. So you see here, the driver got updated, right? So this wants to update. So what I was going to do then is go in here and use so customer interactions, and I can already see that this is helping organization, right? We can already see if we keep naming these folders properly, we're going to end up with our domains in here properly. Now, these could actually be broken out into solutions themselves from an organizational standpoint. So if customer interactions and the customer service or the marketing service are independent teams, then these wouldn't be in one project, in one solution. These would be independent projects, right? With communication as to what messages look like. With Kafka, we've talked about trying to figure out how to get the schema registry up and running. I don't think there's anything similar with mass transit. I think there you're in shared library land because I don't think it's designed to be that. So we're just gonna add the version of Mongo in there. We'll update later. There's no harm. But this is I always forget to use the solution. I immediately go to NuGet. I start adding packages, and then I think afterwards I should have gone to the solution, and I should have added the package from there because I've already got it. So I'm going to end up with consistency. To consolidate, that's fine. Okay. Okay. How is it handled? If you have cross dependency between these services, like one service point to use ready, and this user get deleted, or point to order and order get deleted. Okay, so a big concept here is you've got to identify the source of truth. Okay, so, and one of the things we've already talked about is the messaging. Right now, right now it's very basic, right? We have the website, which is actually here. When you create an account, that isn't actually done on the website, right? So we have customer interactions. This is the green box we're talking about right now, right? So we have the website, and we have a page for the new account. Right now, the code is about as simple as it can get, deliberately. We then send the command register account, right? And we have the customer's service listening to that command. When we get that account, we register the account and we save the customer. So the customer themselves, the one that's being registered, is owned by this piece over here, right? I'll get to my point. Don't worry. I am actually answering the question. I'm just going around the houses a little bit. Let's make that yellow. call that customers. And right line for right this second. So the command comes into here. This is the owner of the customer, right? This service over here owns the customer. The website never actually owns the customer. Once the customer is registered, we publish an event, right? Account registered. So register account, account registered is the terminology here. So they're not actually a customer yet, so that's technically correct. Now the event publishes customer registered or account registered in this case, right? And this service picks it up and does whatever it needs to do with it. In the event of an order, only one service will own the order, so there's no real dependency, and that's kind of what I was mentioning before in the fact that Kafka distributes the data and has the schema registry so you can distribute the data without dependency on systems. I'm not sure saying that mass transit doesn't have something like that, but right now what we have is a shared where we have events and commands, right? So these are the domain things that can happen. We can send register account, we can listen for account registered, and publish account registered from one place. So how is it handled with the cross dependency? Well, the messaging similar to how you're using for example, you have info under order created by. Well, again, who needs to send that and who needs to know that? You can have the ID. So right now the website here, and just for clarity, I have had experience of developing chunks of systems like this. I have never developed anything as big as what we're actually attempting to demonstrate here because it's a lot of work and I've never worked on that team. I have used the technologies. I am trying to learn more about these things as well. But so I don't want to pass myself off as some sort of guru in this. What I'm trying to make sure of is yeah. So if I'm trying to answer the exact. For example, you have info under order created by, and that is user under order or not. You can attach information, right? So if let me show you actually this part. So I just said that when we receive register account, we store that customer here. That is the customer, right? So we are the owner of the customer. We then publish the event account registered, and you can see we add the ID, and that ID is the ID that this system gave that customer. So now any system that cares about a customer being registered can consume that. So what we do is actually we have another service area. We have the marketing component of the system, right? And this is also awfully similar to that goal, doesn't it? Yeah. This is the marketing component. That also listens to account registered, as does this. Here, what we'll do eventually is actually register the user for signing. So we've registered the customer or registered the account. We're still on the accounts. We'll register the account. We'll store that, and we'll actually set up the login details here because the rest of the system doesn't care if the user's logged in, right? They don't care if you're logged in and allowed to, and you've made orders, etc. necessarily. The rest of the system just cares that they need to know what they need to know about you. So the marketing system doesn't need to know how many orders you've made necessarily, like how much for and what items were in there all the time. Maybe they do, but a certain piece of information can go to other parts of the system. So you're kind of sharing it with the events. So in the world of Mediator, you can send a command and you receive that command in a handler, right? So or a request, and you receive it in the handler. This is the same thing, just exploded out into disconnected systems. So we're still doing the same we're still using the same principles. We're just making it a lot harder, but scalable, right? You could scale up a website dealing with Mediator. There's no problem with that, right? That will work. But the rest of the system would then have to scale linearly with those scaling decisions. By the way, if you want to access any of this code, it is there. Everything we're doing on stream is shared. I will actually add this draw IO document at some point, or I'll put it in the Discord. The idea is that this would be collaborative. It's not meant to be, listen to me waffle on all the time and do all the coding. This is very much meant to be shared. And you can experiment with it. That's the idea. So if you want to take it, fork it, and do what you want, and experiment with, what if I do this? What if I change this? What if I redesign it this way? You can do that. It's very much a goal. So what we're doing right this second is we have a menu configuration, right? So the pizza restaurant has the menu, right, which is here. Well, hopefully, by the time we've gone through enough of this, some of these things will be like, okay, I can see the benefits. I don't know when I'd ever use it. But let's do that. So we're kind of breaking down. These are individual domains as such. Gotta be careful. I'll get someone in with an opinion on a domain-driven design, and we'll be in trouble. Okay, so let's get. So I'm trying not to copy this again. No, they do not share the same database. Right now, they're in the same server because obviously I'm not spooling up an instance of MongoDB or SQL Server for every single service right this second. Once we get to actually how we distribute this, we might experiment with those things. But the idea is, so if you look, the website is one database and the customer service is another database, right? They both have customers as a collection. Now, the difference is the customers here are not the customers there, right? So the website customer looks like this. And this is just to demonstrate what would happen if they were set up as an account or whatever. And this has this. So right now they're the same information, but ultimately they could be very different information. And you don't have this system accessing this database ever, right? Because there's no need for it. And that's kind of how you break out your we kind of identified all these topics, all these terms as ideas. And again, the idea was to kind of discuss, okay, these actually are separate than these concepts. Traditionally, what you would do with a website is you'd put all of this behavior that we're doing so far inside of this website, right? Marketing would be a component of it, and sales would be a component of it, and then menu management, you might have an administrator login, and you might have all that hidden behind a password, and yeah. So it's just kind of pulling all those little pieces out and deciding, okay, they need to know about this, and they need to know about this, and here needs to know about this. So there's a lot of discussion, and if you disagree with anything that's said or done, it's a point of discussion, right? That's the benefit of doing this together. Order might actually have a copy of customer name, customer address, and stuff like that. So even if you remove the user, you can still get those fields in the order. Yeah, and also who owns something. You've got to identify that, right? This owns login, right? When this account's registered and set up, the website owns login. It doesn't need, the marketing system doesn't care that the user can log in. The customer's service, as we've identified it right now, which may or may not change, doesn't need to necessarily care that you can log in. They just need to know that you actually have registered and you've actually done things in the system, and they track that, right? We might decide that certain data doesn't live in other places. And part of the beauty of doing this the way we're doing it is, again, if we're following a consistent design, if we're following the same set of rules as to how we lay code out and how we do these things, then it's not actually scary to just reorganize this, right? There's no knock-on impact because you know the messages you're receiving, you know the events you're receiving. You can turn around and change that. So this is overkill if you're on one server, right? Even now with four independent services, this is a lot of overkill. If we're never going to scale past the one server. But yeah. So what I was considering then was, I have this infrastructure and I keep using it, right? It's the same code pretty much, with the exception of this. And I'm slowing myself down by having to copy and paste it again. And I'm going to create a nightmare for myself later on by having all these dependencies. So we used it. We didn't use it in here because the menu service doesn't do anything yet. It just publishes a message. We'll make that happen differently later. And I think this belongs in shared right now. Let's create another project. Add new project. .NET Standard. We're gonna attempt to do that, yeah. So all I'm doing here is just I'm gonna pull that code out and then reference it and see what happens, and not be afraid of a little bit of hard work on the refactoring here. Okay, so we're gonna call it. So right this second, I'm going to continue that pattern. I think where necessary, I'm going to be clear about the technology, just to try and make it easier to navigate the code when you see it. So what I'm going to do is so the model still lives there, but I'm going to bring these over here. Right, I'm going to refactor that. Things are going to be broken all over the place because I've just broken customers right there. And what we're going to need to do, we're going to need to include Mongo. What this might allow us to do is actually reduce it might reduce the surface area of the number of installs we have of the Mongo driver. So let's get that there. So now we have Mongo database, Mongo client, but now we need string database. Right, that's how we're going to do this right this second. And that gives us that. That's our behavior that we need there. So if we go over here now and we want iRepository, reference that. Congratulations. So the challenge there we have is we actually need to do that, I think. No, we don't. Oh, pants. Ha! Nice. So we just said, okay, we need the database, but we don't have the ability to sort that out. So let's do CTOR provider goes to new Mongo repository provider.getService Hey Exy, how are you? Mongo client, comma, customer service. Let's try it that way. Never get away from XML. What a name provider hides out. Oh. Just maybe P for right a second. First box of X-Men presents just got here, including a pillow pet, Clifford the big. Nice. Pillow pets. It's a pillow. It's a pet. It's a pillow pet. Oh dear. Okay, so this should build. No. Oh, yeah, because we don't have the repository in there. Yeah. So we're not getting rid of the dependency yet. I did see some of the Xamarin stuff. I wasn't paying full attention. What was I doing? I was doing support issues at that point, so I couldn't really pay much attention. But yeah, I did. I saw the hot reload stuff, and that's in now, right? In debugging. Yep, hot reload. So that I'm interested to see how that works. Okay, so let's get the other repository out, and then we're down to one repository, right? Which benefits us. So let's remove. So this one we call website. Okay. So let's remove that. Yeah. Yep. Oh, if you are a YouTube Premium subscriber, by the way, you can get a free Stadia controller and Chromecast. No XML here. Junicus is doing XML. That was a little bit too quick to protest, right? So we're going to do that again here. Do that. Yep. Well, it's a year anniversary. New Mongo repository. And then we're going to do p.getService I Mongo client. And then that. But yeah, that's that. Okay, so we just cut our heavy dependency upon copying and pasting code everywhere. But yeah, if you look it up, you know, this year I've had a Google Home Assistant. No phone. Shut up. The screen, and now an extra Stadia controller and a Chromecast from them for free for the whopping price of $10 a month, or whatever it is I pay for not having ads on YouTube either. Okay. Hey Delta, did I see you streaming? I thought I saw your stream come up. Nice. Okay, so we should have a build. You fought the repo and it unloaded it? Did it work okay? Okay, so now we have one repository for Mongo, so now we can safely do something in here with Mongo, right? I got stuck. Well, if we can get some of this stuff done, we can answer any questions you have if you like, but just need to get some progress made on this. Okay, so what we're doing here is setting up the consumers for the menu, right? I mean, it's not that complicated at this point. It's just a little bit. There's a lot of things to take in. So actually, what we're going to do here is we're literally going to copy. No, I can't do it that way. Yeah, we've got that in there. We're fine. I can hard code it for right this second. We're going to copy this code. The code that I just keep clicking randomly around on. So we're going to take that and we're going to paste that in there. And then we're going to reference a repository. So here, we're in the customer interactions service, right? And although we can have a separate database, right now we want to use the same database because we're actually going to put the menu inside of the website's database because that's where the menu belongs. Even though it's a separate service, it's in the same subdomain and therefore is okay to talk to this data. Right, so we're in the customer interactions, right? So this is what we're kind of breaking down so far. We're up in here now. We don't need mass transit in this instance. What we do need is a consumer service. So let's minimize that. Start this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create. I'm trying to think about how to do it in without doing too much, but also making it so I can pull the code out afterwards without having to like unwind it too much. So if we make it a hosted service or we do that sort of stuff, then it's workable before, as it is. We don't have to worry too much about it being, oh, well, now we've got this piece to unwind and we've got to copy this piece here and move this piece around. I want it to be kind of standalone. So that's what I'm considering right this second. So let's call this the actually, let's call this menu consumer. It'll make it easy to see. It will work. So we are going to create a constructor, and in that we're going to insert an I repository. Right. And we're also going to insert our I configuration for Kafka. And let's do it this way. Async task start, then do create cancellation token while not is cancellation requested. So that way we can probably pull the same code in. So we're going to do something similar. Need that. And we'll replace this with a menu consumer.start. Right. And in there, we'll just keep consuming messages until we actually cancel. and then we'll be able to await that, and then we don't necessarily need to. That won't work if we do it as a. That must do something different, because if we do it that way, it's just going to go off into an infinite loop. It's just never going to come out of there. It won't move on. That await will stop. How does that do it? The beauty of reflection. On the interface, I need the actual bus control. I bet I can't get the implementations of that. Oh, I can. Start async. Try. Catch. Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated than just a loop. Stop async. Stop async. Post handle, that's where the call start. Yeah. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So I probably don't want to do something that deep right this second. I just want to get a loop going where I can break out of it. Ultimately, I want to consume the message. I want to store the message, store the data, and then I want to commit if I don't set the options, and then just keep going. So every menu request we get, we're going to update the database, and then what we should be able to do is update the UI to show the menu, and then from the menu system we can start to add the features in there, and actually now we're getting to the point where we're able to start building on things and see things change and happen for real. So the way we do this is we're going to. What I'm thinking about is how to pull the configuration out. Consumer configuration is a little bit more involved. So Kafka, consumer, and then we have Bootstrap. Servers is localhost 1992. So again, that's our only broker. If we actually decide to tinker with scale out here, we'd actually start another broker service up, so we'd have redundancy there. We could bring one down and still prove the system works. Look at configuration options. That's a little bit involved. I think it's client ID. We've done this before. Kafka consumer configuration properties. Yeah, so that's that. So what I'm looking for Oh, group. That's what I'm after. Group ID. Is it just group ID? I'm not sure it is, but we'll see. Google has begun moving uh, all their Nest stuff over to Google. Which is interesting. Doesn't always do a stunning job of it. Sorry, I'm just making sure that no packages were dropped off. Not that I think they were, but no. Amazon did not deliver me any packages. Sad times. So if you remember, I ordered multiple of the Xbox and with the intention of either cancelling or obviously Junicus may want one. We're very sorry your delivery is late. We may deliver it by November 13th. We're sorry your delivery is late. Give us another couple of days. And then tell us it's missing if it's not there by Friday. Garbage. Okay, so group ID, in this case, we're going to call this customer interactions, right? So you can have many consumers running, as long as we're in the same group. Yeah, they'll all share the load, right? So that's how you scale up with the Kafka consumers. If they're in a group ID, you can have multiple consumers in the same service running from different groups, etc. But they'll be part of the receiving group. So one group will receive one copy of a message, right? And I want to say that's group.id. Let's see. The worst happens is Kafka blows up. So commit.immediately. Auto commit enable. That's what I want. Auto commit enable. Auto commit enable equals. Kafka uses a string dictionary of configuration. Auto offset reset. Consumer.timeout milliseconds. We're not going to test the system. The aim is not to test the load here. We're just going to test we're going to make sure things work. We're not dealing with logging. We're not enable Zookeeper registration in the server. Kafka broker, Kafka consumer. We're not doing producer here. We're just doing consumer. So auto commit enable, and we need that does say it's group ID. Get there. But they don't mention Bootstrap service, so Group.instance.id. Group.id. It is group.id. Thank you. And then auto commit offset. Auto offset reset. What to do when there is no initial offset. So this is the behavior. So when you begin and there's no offset, what happens, right? Auto.offset.reset. And again, earliest means go right back to the earliest message in the topic. Latest, just go to the end. None, throw an exception. Anything else, throw exception. So we're going to go earliest, because we'd always want to consume every single message, especially on this consumer. If we were a brand new consumer group, we'd always want to get all the menus as they were with the retention policy, because it's important for us to catch up, right? If we have a 6-month retention policy on the topic, then that's our business measure of okay, 6 months, the menus are going to get updated once every 6 months maybe. Therefore, with a 6-month retention policy and the consumer starting up for the first time, we'll always be able to get the new service. So if we decide later on that there's a new website going to consume our menus, we've written a service to interact with Uber Eats or whatever to do that, then we could potentially have another service start up, consume the menus, and then just publish them straight away. There's no extra, oh, let's copy it out of the database, let's get all this data. You just bring it up and it'll consume the messages, and it's got them. Enable auto commit. That's what I want. See, different behaviors. This is the correct one. This is definitely correct one. This is Confluent. Group.instance ID, a unique identifier. The consumer instance provided the end user or non-empty string is set. The consumer is treated as a static member, which means that only one instance with this ID is allowed in the consumer group at any time. Okay, right. So that's okay. And this is the sort of stuff I'm talking about. Over time, I don't know all these settings. I don't know how to get the best out of Kafka right now. I've got to learn how to do that. But the reality is, you don't learn how to do that by spooling up a few instances on a Docker instance, right? You don't learn how to do that properly until you've actually got scale to play with. You can learn the concepts as you go, but they're not high up on my list of priorities right now, because I just don't have the I don't have the time to spend. Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out right this second is I need to var producer factory equals new producer builder. Builder. Let's do builder. New producer. No, consumer builder. I'm not producer. I'm a consumer. Var builder equals new consumer builder. What do we publish? What did we publish? Did we publish a GUID or did we publish nothing? So we published it as GUID menu, right? And we stuck a GUID on there. Ultimately, we'll recall that. So we'll make this. This is going to consume a GUID, and it's going to be a menu. Now, this is where schema registry comes in, because now the only real way of doing this is for us to share a file, or which is what we're going to do in this instance, because if you remember, we actually turn around and publish the menu in this form, right? What we're going to do in this instance is actually create the file again. The distributed component means that shared libraries are not something I want to get into very often. With the mass transit stuff, their messages are within internals. They're not distributed outside of the overall system. With this, that's why schema registry is important. So let's just do this for right this second, and then we can, as we get to see more, as you independently come up with your own thoughts and ideas and opinions on how this should be working and how it is working. Those are the sorts of discussions we could have that are very useful. Also, I need to get more disciplined at making sure I'm namespacing, because that's going to trip me up eventually. So right now, all I've done is copy that straight out. Right. So now this is the menu. So we're going to do that, and then here we're going to need our configuration. So we need a private dictionary, a string of Kafka configuration. And then Kafka configuration equals new dictionary string. And then I think get section Kafka consumer dot bind. It's not there automatically, so we need binding. Extensions dot configuration. We went through this already, I know. We've done some of this. Again, remembering to do .NET 3.1. I think bind's available now. And then we'll do Kafka configuration. And then we should be able to just feed Kafka configuration in there. And that works. And then set key deserializer and set value deserializer. And we're not setting up any other extra components right this second, so we don't need to worry about, again, like we did with the Mongo, we don't need to do that right this second. So let's just do infrastructure, and then we're going to do key GUID key deserializer. It's an I deserializer, no, an I deserializer. It is an I deserializer. I had a moment of, is that right? So this takes the bytes. So this is going to be return GUID dot parse. So encoding.utf8.get bytes. No, get chars from data. What's that overload? We only span byte, span chars. Data dot to array. That should more than suffice. And then we're going to have JSON value deserializer. I think from what we've done so far with this and what I've done so far with this, these would actually end up being in some sort of shared NuGet package for your team as useful serializer, deserializers. But if we went to something like schema registry, these are already in there. So you don't need to keep writing these. So this is T, and we need T there, where T is a class. And then we're going to do return JSON serializer.deserialize T encoding. data, and then that might work straight away. We'll see. So here we're going to do new GUID key deserializer and new JSON value serializer menu, and then build, and then that's going to be our actual consumer. Do you do it in here? No. So when you're creating a consumer, you have to tell it what you actually care about. So we're going to subscribe to, and this is where it gets a bit messy, configuration. I'm not going to worry too much about it being this. I don't quite get the configuration of. I think they've changed this a little bit over time, but you can subscribe to many topics, which I don't get considering you're kind of setting up a type with the key value. I haven't seen this used that much. .NET is not normally a place I've seen Kafka code, but I've not quite worked out what people expect to do with this, because you can subscribe. I think you can subscribe. Maybe you can't anymore. Actually, I do have a case for this. There was one where I set up a consumer to consume from many topics, because the messages coming in could be dealt with at that point, right? I could say, okay, I want to consume the topics A through G, and when I get them, I want to ask them what their type is and validate that they are the right type, and then you can process them. So I have done that, actually. Yeah. So the way this is going to work is, I don't think there's anything else I need to start or nope, that should be fine for right this second. So message equals consumer.consume time span dot from seconds from milliseconds 500. So basically it'll wait 500 milliseconds, then go around again, so it relieves a little bit of the system to do something else. It's not just blocking. If message not equal to null, right, we have a message, there is a consume result, then we want to do this. All right. So for right now, actually storing the message as the menu is probably okay, right? If we store the serialized version of all that as a menu, that's okay right this second. We'll probably end up with different structure for this system. Ultimately, it might be in a SQL database, it might be in any format, but for right this second, to prove this out, we can expand. Yeah, so, and again, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get to the little pieces that we can have a really solid understanding of, and then we're able to talk about them and pull them apart and analyze them and question them and change them, and give you something to play with off the stream. So let's just do message dot, let's repository dot add message dot message I can't do message dot message null value comma menus, right? Wait, and then result dot, so then we do consumer dot commit results. So that says, okay, we've got it, we processed it. Thank you for the follow, Neron or Rob. Welcome. If you have any questions, feel free. More than happy to talk. Um, okay, so that's basically it. That should be it, right? We should be able to start this service up. Um, Mind giving me a hand with super simple, with C sharp and how to clear a button. Make a approach talk. At least you're honest. With Windows Forms app. That's fine. I don't mind. I is it a WinForms application? The Discord is probably the better place to post if you have an piece of code or an example. If you post in the Discord channel, others in the stream will be able to look. Um, as long as you're honest and you're saying it's homework, I don't mind as long as you're not expecting it to be done for you. Help is one thing. Avoiding any effort is another thing. So that's the only thing I have an issue with. But yeah, yeah, post it in the Discord, and if you have a link to a repository or you have a link to uh, yeah, well, pastebin, depending on how you want. I would not advise posting a full code base though. Yeah, fair enough. I skipped over that part. I wasn't particularly. Some streams will be no, not helping its homework. Um, like I said. Well, people don't know necessarily how to go about getting some help. Stack Overflow, as I've said before, is not exactly quite the place it once was. Searching for we've gone through it many times on the stream, right? Searching for things is hard, and if you're new to development communities and you're doing school, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. If you're new to it and you're going to school, you don't know whether you're in an environment that is necessarily safe or welcoming to you. That's it's not easy, especially being online, right? Online chat is always intimidating, and I just went into the Discord and looked at that massive pile of XML. But yeah, post in the Discord, you'll see the channels in there. We can have a look. XML. Post in development. The development channel there. Okay. So we now need to get the service running. So my goal here is get the service running, get these parts committed, and then go play Xbox, probably. If I'm being very honest. My I've seen XML from from geocoding systems and data systems that just and I've told you before, I've written code in BASIC to parse XML files produced from a web service that I created, right? So I basically created a SOAP interface for BASIC running on a Unix box. So I've done my penance with XML, I think. If I'd have had time, I honestly would have considered setting up the Xbox and streaming. But I just didn't have the time after work, so yeah. Okay, so your clear button, um, Nero, um, you you don't know how to make it actually do the clear. You still can't believe I didn't open the box. Well, figured if I open the box, then my motivation to stream was higher than opening the box at that point. And if I opened the box, then my motivation to stream would drop and my inclination to game would increase because I did get Yakuza Like a Dragon and NBA 2K21. So I do have games to play that will capitalize on the new hardware. So I figured my inclination would balance wrong. So if I don't open it, I don't have temptation. Therefore, yeah. Okay. I want to get this service finished. Um, I'm not often disciplined, let's face it. I really do try. Okay, so we need task equal. So we need to do services.add scoped. And this is going to be menu consumer. And then we're going to get consumer equals services dot. Now we do it differently, don't we? Loyalty program. No. How do we set it up? Build service provider. Yeah, we need the provider, don't we? Yes. That's what we need. Nero, if I don't answer during the stream, I will definitely look once the stream's over. Um, but it looks like from an initial glance at that screenshot, it looks like what you need to do is basically create an array of controls and loop through them and just mark them as false, depending on how your code behind that is working. Okay, so we're going to get a consumer equals provider.get service, and we need a menu consumer, right? And then we're going to do wait equal await consumer dot start async source. See, I really wish that would. I need to understand more about how that works to make that behave the same way, because that'd be useful. But I don't. That'll block, I think. Configured in a way to use to await this task. True to attempt to marshal the continuation back to the original content captured, otherwise false. So is that? Is that why that works? I found my new favorite thing, by the way, because I saw it in all the examples. That's my new favorite thing to do, so I don't have to write console dot every time. I was writing an application. I was writing, like I was saying, I was doing a demo application to try and show the features of the new records, and and switch pattern matching features to my team. And I was using a lot of console write lines, and I'm like, you know what? I saw this. I need to do it, so I don't have to do console.writeLine anymore. Console writeLine. Press any key to exist. Task dot. Is it wait all? Do we do? Task.run console. Alright, okay. Await. Task.run console. So that becomes reline. Source.token. Write line. Complete. Okay, let's see if that actually runs. So I'll start project right this second. And then we failed at the first hurdle. We failed at the second hurdle. Menu consumer, add scoped, menu consumer. Oh, because no configuration. Services that add singleton to write the second. I configuration. Configuration. GUID should contain 32 digits with 4 dashes. We actually got to consuming a message. That's better than I thought it'd do. Did that? No, it didn't show pressing a key. So data is that. So encoding. I think. Where do we do this? We did this previously. GitHub.com, DVD friends. As much as I am a fan of messing around for ages, really? We didn't? Publishing stock program. Publish it up, publish. Consumers.consume. Look how they changed this. This is all Kafka from last time. If we did this and updated this library right now, it would just not work. Pushing program. Yeah, this is ridiculous because it's just totally different to what it looks like now. This wasn't even that long ago. Well, okay, it's a year ago, but still, it's totally different. How do I get GUID from byte data? Convert byte or object to GUID. Byte. Oh, you can just take it like that. Return new GUID data. That's a little simpler. Now, because we don't commit, so we don't auto commit, that's okay, because now that message didn't get processed because we didn't commit it. So until we actually get to the point of saving it, we're safe. And what I thought would happen is happening. We can't. Oh, yeah, we'll do it like that for right now. It's fine. Um, but what we should see is that's still there because it doesn't get deleted. It just moves on. But we should have consumer offset. We should have consumer. So there's customer interactions as our offsets, right? So end one. So it's processed that. So if we go to Kafka, if we go to Mongo, sorry, we have the website. If we refresh, we now have menus. If we view the documents, there's our menu, right? So we're now consuming the menu. So now we go here and add that into the list of things to do when we start up, right? Yeah, that'll be the website's version of the menu. So the menu system will only publish the menu when it's ready, right? But now, as soon as it's been published, as soon as it says this is live, the restaurant would actually potentially get it, and the website would get it at the same time. Obviously, as we go forward with the system, we can talk about really what that means. What sort of interactions there should be. Whether Kafka's the right thing for the menu is another thing. Right now, we've introduced it for the sake of introducing it, so we've got that difference. And again, we don't have any solid. It sends a command. It needs to publish. It needs to do this. We just know we need to distribute the data. So that will be the local version of the menu. The menu system overall still owns the menu, right? This is the source of truth. This just has its version of the menu stored. So right now we're storing it in the same format. But it will allow us now to, in the website, and again, we've got some design things to question here because this is actually consuming this message as is, right? This is a consumed model, right? In essence, what we now need is a library that's shared between these two things that is the models, and it's going to be the same model again. And the problem is if we don't fix that at some point soon, we're going to end up with yeah. So we could transform it here and optimize it for the UI is the point. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say is really what we should do is make it a different thing because ultimately we might want models stored here as a separate thing that these things share because they are all part of customer interactions. It's okay for them to have models that are shared. They're all part of the same domain, right? Because right now what's going to happen is if I want to actually show that model, the menu, Let's actually break these out so that we can see them clearly. And again, how we refer to these might actually slightly change now, and that's okay because we can consume them and share them, and the logic of how they're transformed is dealt with in here. So we know what it's going to be, right? We're talking a different language, maybe. So the challenge is, you know, what's the right way to share that? Because this is a consumed model. This is not what's stored, right? Necessarily. Right now, I'm dumping it straight in. It's kind of what I'm saying, but ultimately that might be very different. So, I'm hesitant to just copy this, but obviously the people who are interested most in this are watching. So this decision is wrong. But what I'm going to do is paste it in there. There's a reason I said, this decision is wrong right as I did it. Right? Because to finish this off for today, we're going to do this. So we have app settings. We have Mongo in here. We do have Mongo configured because we use it in the consumer. But what we're going to do here now is iRepository. We're going to do inject public iRepository. Right. And then we're going to have public IEnumerable of menu. And again, just remember you're watching this and you know it's wrong. Menus. Yeah, do you think we will need a UI to get more information on how to transform consume the menu data? I think we can start to discuss it. And that's kind of, okay, let's see how we're going to lay this thing out. Let's see if there are differences in that. Let's understand the transformation points and the we might actually strip it down a little bit, right? Because we might have item IDs that don't matter to the website because they have other information they need attached to them, or they actually, it's a the menu really comes from multiple sources, because obviously if special offers and stuff are involved, or discounts or whatever, we might have to attach data. There's all manner of things that could change what we need to show in the website to what we actually publish as a menu, which we don't know about at this point, right? And again, the whole goal of this is to get to a point where A, you can run off and tinker with this if you want to. B, we can talk about it. We all understand the decisions. Yeah. So let's get that. Right now, I'll be honest, I'm kind of like a kid who is just been put on the opposite side of a plexiglass screen from a pile full of Christmas gifts. Well, the thing is, I'm genuinely torn because I'm enjoying doing this and I really want to see this done. But in the same, if I don't play now, I'm not getting another chance until Friday. So it's like, okay. So what we need to do, I'm going to move on because otherwise I'm going to get distracted. No, but again, I could have cancelled the stream. It went through my head at one point, but I'm like, you know what? I'm really enjoying doing this part as well. From a professional development standpoint and an educational standpoint, this is awesome. This is a lot of fun. And so I like to keep up with this, and I don't want to lose momentum in this because I think this has a lot of potential for cool things. But yeah, and I would have loved to stream it as well. But I don't have the camera for streaming an unboxing. This camera would not deal well with an unboxing, and also my desk is a complete mess of wires. I can never seem to fix that. And obviously setting it up and getting it all configured, I'd have to unplug the other Xbox and whatnot. So yeah. Okay, so let's get this data. So we're going to do repository dot. Oh, we don't have query yet. So let's go and add query. And now we just made this make all the more sense. Yeah. Yeah, but it's still kind of fun because you can talk about it and look at things specifically when you've got someone, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. Did you figure out the WinForms issue? I saw people jumping voice channels. So we're going to do query T. The unfortunate part here is let's do collection name. Cool. Thank you. That's awesome. So string collection name and then expression func t result comma bool. I don't think that works quite as well. Query. So let's put that there. And now this makes it worth the time at the beginning getting all this done. So var collection equals database dot get collection. Another thing is as well, when you're working with document databases, the way you compress the data might actually be very different as well. So or the way you structure the data and lay out the data might be different. So relational stuff, this is where using Mongo for the data access and stuff is really cool because we could actually consume multiple topics, and potentially you could consume mass transit events and then not really say the menu is ready until certain things have happened. Line it all up and then store the menu in a certain format and publish it into the website, and that's the version the website sees. But it could be very different to what was published from the menu system or the billing system or whatever. But this pattern always bugs me because it's like, oh, what if I need relational data? What if I need more data? The reality is that I don't think that document DBs are really. I mean, I think Couchbase does relations because it does have a SQL syntax, but overall, I don't think they're really best suited to making relational data. So let's do return collection dot find async. I forget that this is why you can't wrap a nice repository around Mongo. Yeah, that is why. Find async. Filter definition builder t result. Oh, that needs to get renamed, but yeah. Dot new dot where. There we go. Query. Await. Async. T document. It's not T document, is it? It's I enumerable of T document. I mean, we're not. I don't want to hide the fact that it's a document database. All I want to do is, you know, strip away the Mongo specific stuff. No. As queryable. Find async. Async cursor var result equals return result dot as to enumerable. There you go. So I keep managing to do that today. Okay, so now we have a query. We can now do query menu again, pulling the same object out. Query goes to query dot. Oh, we need collection name menus. Q goes to Q dot. What? How's that? How is that? Q goes to Q dot. Why do you think that is? What? That should be a menu. Should it not? Am I forgetting how programming works all of a sudden? Expression of func T document. Bool. T document is. Menus is in the menu website. Menu. Forget that this creates a class, don't I? That won't work. But I can but hope. Because all the code behind is hidden, that makes that really dot name not string dot is null or empty name. Dot menu does not contain a definition for name and no accessible method. Oh, we're going to have an argument, aren't we? What? Okay, I don't know how you managed to copy in like that, but whatever. It does, but okay. Come on. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do I'm going to do for each var menu in current. Do h5 menu dot name for each var category in menu dot categories. UL. Oh, come on, IntelliSense. There. LI for each var item in category items ul li item dot name item dot price. Format, we're not going to mess around, we're just going to run it and see what happens. Okay, so now we have Pizza as a service with Kafka consumers, website, marketing, loyalty, customers. We have the entire lot. Let's see how we go. Website. Shared. Yeah, I figured you would be. Still think I'm right about that, but I'll learn. Mainly out nav menu. Let's put menu in here. Class equals nav item. This is menus. OI. Menu. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so we have menus. It gets there, that's weird. It's very... Why does that work? I thought that would not... Source token... Oh, because it cancels after 10 seconds. This must... Okay, this must reset the... Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's probably doing that. So that's doing... cancellation token dot... Yeah, it's probably doing something with oh well, I'll figure that out afterwards. What was I doing then? I need to just take that out for no. Oh, menus, that's what I was going. So let's just do page menu. No, it's just page, right? Because I'm in the directory of pages, therefore menus will work. Well, now you don't work. Okay. Menus. Object reference not set to an instance of an object because it didn't set up the default. Equals new list of menu. And then current should be that. And then we need to await that. And that needs to be async. I don't think you need that anymore. Does you build now? Menus. Oh. Mongo repository line 29. Await, find anything, document, where query. What did you error with? ID does not match any field or property of class, gamer, customer, website, models. Right, because we're not telling it that it's serialized that way, are we? Again, this is why our objects, yeah, public, period, ID, bson ID, right? We're using them, serializing, deserializing is where DTOs and all sorts come into play, because we got different objects with slightly different perspectives, different data stored. Let's see if this works any differently. This may still fail. Yeah, it's going to fail because it can't deserialize properly. An error code will deserialize in the ID property class. Yeah, cannot deserialize GUID from bson type object ID. So which means we need to store it. See, here we don't have the ID. So we can do here for right this second is, I think if we do object ID there, because that's the internal, maybe this will work. Because that's the default. There you go. So we have a menu. What we actually need there is we need category.name. Again, all styling, etc. So now what we should have happen is, if we go here, go to menus, appetizers and pizzas, and then we start up HTTPS localhost 5002 and go to menus and create simple menu. If we go back here and refresh, there we go, we have simple menu. So obviously we need a UI for building out a menu, and we need a UI for displaying the menus, but it's there straight away, right? Obviously in a real system that might be a little while longer, because those might be completely different systems, right? Because here we're publishing it. And again, what this might do is you might save this menu, you might be working on this menu, you might not actually hit save and it be there, right? You might actually say, okay, now I'm ready, this menu is good, publish. And publishing is that. And maybe we determine that publishing is an actual thing that is represented in the messaging, and we move this behavior to mass transit instead of Kafka. Right now we're just saying, here's some data, you can consume this data and store it however you want to display it, or however you want to store it, and you can store it optimized for your display rather than how I think of that data, because I know what the data looks like, I know how it's stored, I am the expert, right? But you know, for every other system, you know, it doesn't matter. So what do you think? Is this starting to come together, do you feel? Do you think there's some things you can go off and tinker with? Any thoughts or questions? And again, if we bring down, where is it? So customers, marketing, menu, website, So this is the Kafka consumers node, right? We bring that one down, and then we say this is the early bird. We hit save. This site stays up. This is fine. This doesn't get anything, right? Nothing's broken. The system's still functioning. We can still navigate around. We can still do things, right? But now we fix our service, right? We fix our service. We get it back up on its feet. We start it up. We go in here and we refresh, and there's our early bird menu, right? So we have that resilience. We have that ability to recover. The entire system isn't brought down by one little piece breaking temporarily. And again, if that can't consume the message properly, if that fails to consume the menu, it will explode. It will tell us it's exploded. People might burn you back to get the menu system up and working again properly, but you can fix that part independently of the rest of the system. You don't have to bring down everything else. And that's where this starts to become really kind of interesting and difficult, because then you need specialists for dealing with, or people who have really good understanding, like Mr. Anhorn, of the whole distribution and testing and scaling, and yeah. But there we go. What do you think? Are we good? You're interested to have a play with this? Is this something you're interested in jumping off and doing? Nice. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go and get pizza as a service. So we've done a lot this evening, right? We've done more than you might think. And yeah, there's some things that we need to talk about. There's some design we need to discuss regarding actual ownership of files and where files should live. And some of that, I honestly do believe there's no right or wrong answer. There's just the answer that we agree upon to make sure that we understand where something lives, right? And this is where people try to cut corners the most, because we're seeing the same objects time and time again. And then it's natural to think, well, I can save myself some coding if I just put them all in one file. But all you do there is create boundaries you don't really want to have to deal with. So, yeah. Okay. So we introduced menu consumer, added, broke out Mongo repository, added query, did too much in a single commit, but yeah. Added menu consumer to customer interactions. Added simple display of menu. Okay, so all this is on main. I have no recourse, but the fact that we've just run it comes up and works fine. There's no changes to that Docker Compose. You should, in essence, be able to check this out and get it working and have some fun with it. But we're starting to add some features in there, so maybe next time. Actually, if there's specific things that you can think that you'd like to see done on stream, let's kind of, if you can think about them, maybe they'd be worthwhile talking about in the Discord, so that I can get an idea of what I wanted to figure out is how to plan the streams, how to make sure the streams are actually to the point and not waffling too much. But then we can still have fun with it. But there we go. Okay. So I think I'm done. I think I'm going to go play some games. Um, well, hopefully. Um, let me know. Do let me know in the Discord if you actually do check this out and play with it. Um, Xbox, unfortunately, they cannot get a PlayStation. Let me know. Um, if you check it out, if you get it running, if you have any questions, if you actually come up with some questions, that'd be awesome. And maybe we can go over some of the design. I will share the draw IO diagram. If nothing else, I'll take another SVG of this and paste it into the Discord tonight, and then maybe share the draw IO so you can play around with it and tinker with the design yourself. And again, this is kind of weird because it's not an architectural diagram; it's a brainstorm that we're now kind of using as an architecture. There is a version of it in the README, yes. We haven't really changed that. I've just put the boxes in there, but I will store that. So, okay, I'm gonna go play a game. I will. I'm gonna raid over to. Hopefully, he's gonna be streaming for a little while longer. We're gonna go on raid finite singularity this evening. So I'm gonna start that raid up. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back on Thursday with hopefully Xamarin. I'm gonna go play some. I'm gonna try basketball first, actually, because it will be the NBA 2K21 is actually out of the box, ready for the Xbox Series X, and Yakuza also. So, yep, I'll let you know. I will share my thoughts. Okay, all. Thank you very much for joining me. Take care. Good night, and I will speak to you soon. Ending.